6 Feet Under, a synopsis by Robert P. Fitton. I have a confession. When I walk into a situation or with a group of people, or perhaps a new place, I have this constant urge to backtrack. What do I mean by that? How did the present evolve into the present? I think that's a fair question, but more than that, it's an intriguing question. Matthias Jones lives in a real colonial house on the Hamilton Common in New Hampshire. Now, unless Jones is 200 years old, and we'll save that for my time travel books, there have been multiple owners of this colonial. There's a quite rich and suspect past when Hamilton Fletcher, after slipping on one of Jones's pavers, proclaims that the house is cursed and that the house always gave him trouble. Jones finally pressures Nigel Kent, the dean of students, after Hamilton storms off the property, to clarify what Hamilton meant by the remarks. Reluctantly, Nigel relates the story of Harrison Mobley from 25 years ago and how he just disappeared from town and was never heard from again. The dean of students relates a complex scenario of Hamilton and Prince William residents in a web of wild parties at Jones's colonial. They were all connected to Harrison Mobley in various ways, and most of the residents are still alive today, including a young Lark Larson and a much younger playboy, Hamilton Fletcher, in his Lamborghini. Amidst the backdrop of this world, Nigel postulates that Harrison Mobley made so many enemies that the disappearance does not explain exactly what happened to him. The possibility of murder might bring closure to the past. At first, Jones rebuffs Nigel, but his suspicious nature and proclivity for side road theories prompt him to wonder if Mobley was indeed murdered. But how do you investigate a crime from 25 years ago? That would be a cold, cold case. Jones becomes more inclined to pursue the Mobley matter as he attempts to resurface his backyard patio. He hires the Brannigan boys, Bo, Slappy, and Iron Man. Iron Man, of course, is always looking for a fight, and Jones, by accident, decks the Iron Man in his kitchen, earning his respect. Slappy could be one of the 7 dwarfs, with his scatterbrain ramblings. Bose is a cross between Deputy Dog and Crazy Guggenheim. Go to YouTube if you don't know about these characters. The Historical Commission shuts down Jones's attempt to replace his patio, which doesn't make any sense. There are loose tiles making this area a hazard. Then Lark warns Jones about awakening the spirits if he digs up the back patio, and that such a move could permanently ruin Lark's reputation in the town. Jones wonders how Lark's reputation could get any worse, but now he's wondering more about Harrison Mobley. The wise-ass Bucky Driscoll said, Harrison was murdered right at Jones's house. The big blowout, according to Lark, occurred on the night that Harrison Mobley disappeared. Arnie Dewars, when he was 12 years old, saw the events of the night through his father's binoculars because he was a peeping Tom. A little brown Toyota kept repeatedly circling the common as Hamilton Fletcher himself slid the Lamborghini onto the sidewalk before storming into the colonial. In 6 Feet Under, Jones uncovers dozens of details, directing him toward people now suspects who are walking the streets today. Lark's background in this mess from 25 years ago is astonishing. And yes, there is a female involved, and lots of Bucky being Bucky. And as we saw with the binoculars, Arnie was obnoxious long before the present day. Coco was only 12 years old and living with his brother Anthony on Canal Street in Prince William. The present-day scene with Coco and Jones and Uncle Dulio at the boxing gym in Prince William is a classic Uncle Dulio moment. Jones figures out the elaborate plot from newspaper reports of the time and compares an area of land in North Hamilton with the descriptions in the newspaper. This leads directly to an exciting conclusion involving Coco and Jones and the Brannigan boys, facing down the one man who has the most to lose by opening up the past. And Arlo Wombat in his roving van, broadcasting everything from his mobile studio inside the van. And as to who is guilty of what or anything, I'll leave that to the book. 6 Feet Under gives the Jones series a much-needed depth for everyday characters and introduces the Brannigan boys who will reappear in Johnny's Back in Town. Oh, and you think Harrison Mobley is buried under that patio, don't you? From me to you, anyone could be buried under there. 6 Feet Under is at Amazon in Kindle and paperback. And the audiobook, which accentuates the characters very well, is at audible.com and iTunes. I'm Robert P. Fitton, and this has been a quick synopsis of 6 Feet Under.